We live in a world where we constantly seek comfort, and yet we question why we aren't growing. We wonder why, when even the smallest challenge arises in our lives, we shrink back and retreat. Our entire existence is structured this way, designed to follow the path of least resistance. We resist discomfort, we avoid suffering, and as a result, we build our lives around ease and familiarity. But within that space of comfort, there is no growth. For me, I came to understand that my weight, reaching 297 pounds, was a direct result of seeking comfort. What truly felt uncomfortable was running, maintaining a diet, and confronting the difficult truths I had been avoiding. And it became clear to me that as long as I lived in comfort, I would experience no growth. To break out of that cycle, I had to confront the things that made me deeply uncomfortable. Running, for example, was something I despised, but I recognized that if I wanted to grow, I had to face it every single day. I wanted to strengthen my mind to condition it like calloused hands. And the only way to do that, the only way to become mentally tough and evolve into the person I aspired to be, was to constantly confront the very things I wanted to avoid. If you keep running away from difficulties, how can you ever expect to develop mental resilience? How do you expect to grow? I could sit here and give a lecture on self-talk, visualization, or taking things one step at a time, but none of that matters if you don't put yourself in situations where you actually have to practice those principles. Everyone is fighting their own internal battle, and the greatest war we ever face happens in our own minds. A true warrior isn't just someone who carries a weapon. The fiercest battle is fought between our own ears. And to win that war, we have to train our minds to be resilient. When I first entered the world of endurance events, I found something powerful in the breakdown phase. The suffering made me feel alive. It reminded me that I was giving it everything I had. This time, I didn't enjoy it in quite the same way. But I knew that breakdown was the natural consequence of pushing myself to my limits. I understood that if I delved deep into the recesses of my mind, I would uncover valuable lessons, insights that only emerge when we are unraveling. Most people avoid breakdowns because the suffering feels unbearable, something that could mark them forever. But I embrace it. I welcome the scars because there is a wealth of knowledge in those wounds. Scars are proof that our past is real. Physical scars remain visible, serving as reminders of where we've been. But the scar tissue that forms over those wounds is weaker, just like professional fighters who bleed more easily after repeated blows to the face. Once you've been cut deeply, you are always at risk of bleeding again. The same is true for the emotional and mental scars we carry. Even though they're invisible, they shape us more profoundly than any physical wound ever could. If we don't address them, those scars will dictate our responses to challenges, making us more prone to failure in tough moments, whether it's during a race, at work, or in our personal lives. And eventually, we all end up standing in front of the mirror, unable to escape our own reflection. Breakdown acts as its own kind of mirror, exposing everything we are made of. Our past, our mindset, all laid out like an ancient map etched with the scars we've earned. If we learn to read them, to analyze them as an archaeologist would, we might discover the code needed to rise once again, stronger and better than before. Because transformation is impossible without breakdown. There is always another layer to shed, another evolution waiting to be uncovered. Every morning when I wake up, working out isn't just about physical fitness. It's a key part of my mental growth. If I'm not pushing myself daily, I know I'm stagnating. And trust me, most people wouldn't believe it, but I've been close to 300 pounds twice. Someone who has been there twice in life does not enjoy cardiovascular training. But here's what I've learned. The things I don't want to do, but force myself to anyway. That's where real growth happens. That's the only place it happens, in discomfort. For instance, today I woke up in London and I had no idea where to run. Someone suggested I loop around a 1-mile block, but I rejected that immediately. Instead, I went to the gym and found this insane elliptical machine, one that you have to power yourself. I got on it, and after 2 minutes, I thought, this sucks. And the moment I had that thought, I knew I was going to be on it for a long time. So I stayed there for 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm not saying you need to do that, but when my mind suggested I quit, I pushed harder. That's the difference. Many people wake up feeling haunted by their weight, their struggles, their failures. Their insecurities consume them, suffocating their self-worth and sabotaging any hope for progress. They move through the day just trying to survive, avoiding exposure at all costs. When When you feel that way about yourself, it's nearly impossible to recognize opportunities, let alone seize them. That's why we need to stop waiting for a sign that things will get easier. In moments of uncertainty, the key is to stay focused, because obsessing over when the hardship will end only distracts from executing the task at hand. The struggle is the journey. That's the whole point. That's why we signed up for this race, this challenge, this life. When you're climbing a mountain, the only way out of the struggle is to finish it. So why waste time complaining? Why wish for it to end sooner when you know the end will come regardless? Complaining weakens your effort and prolongs the suffering. The hardest workers keep their heads down and attack the challenge in front of them. They train their minds to remain tough in the hardest moments, never assuming they're near the top until they actually reach it. And when they do, they often wish it had lasted a little longer. If you want to unlock your fullest potential and achieve greatness, you must tap into your savage side, at least for a time. You have to become obsessed, channeling every waking moment into that goal, whether it's securing a degree, winning a competition, or excelling in your career. Your mind must never drift. Sleep in the library, work late into the night, study your opponent. There are no breaks when you're striving to be the best, and understand your dedication will be misunderstood. Some relationships will suffer. The pursuit of greatness can appear selfish, but I've been able to inspire people precisely because I was willing to be imbalanced in my journey to achieve the impossible. People often assume that highly successful individuals were simply born with talent, but talent, while useful, is only part of the equation. Looking back, I was once a shy and fearful person, but those challenges became my greatest strengths. Pushing past my comfort zone didn't just help me build confidence, it reshaped my entire life. The hardest part is often just taking the first step. Many people get caught up in hesitation, overthinking their next move, wasting time on distractions. But procrastination is a trap. It's painful because deep down, you know you should be doing something else. And trust me, I struggle with it too. There are days I stare at my shoes for 30 minutes, debating whether I want to get started. But here's the thing, I always do it anyway, because at the end of the day, the battle isn't about what you want to do. It's about what you need to do. And that's what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck.